There is a quiet question that lingers beneath every thought, every pursuit, every dream we chase in this fleeting world: what is real? We live, we suffer, we hope, we love, yet somewhere within there remains a subtle unease, a sense that what we perceive might be just a fragile surface of something deeper, something we have forgotten. Buddhism begins right there, not with faith, not with dogma, but with a piercing inquiry into the nature of reality itself. Welcome to Buddha's wisdom journey, where we walk together into the heart of truth, beyond illusions, beyond names and forms, beyond even what we think we know about existence. This is not merely a philosophical exploration, but an inner voyage toward awakening, to see life not as the mind interprets it, but as it is. When the Buddha sat beneath the Bodhi tree 2,600 years ago, he was not searching for a belief system or a religion. He was looking for the truth about life, why we suffer, what binds us, and what lies beyond birth and death. What he discovered was not a mystical secret but a direct realization, that reality, as most of us perceive it, is not ultimate. It is a projection shaped by ignorance, desire, and attachment, a shadow play upon the vast canvas of the mind. He saw that all things are impermanent, arising, changing, and passing away in an endless dance of causes and conditions. He saw that there is no fixed self, no unchanging me standing apart from the world. And he saw that liberation, nirvana, is not found in grasping for permanence, but in seeing through the illusion itself. To understand the Buddhist perspective on reality is to shift the very ground of perception. It is not about accumulating knowledge or mastering complex, and to recognize that what we call reality is not solid, but fluid, interdependent, and profoundly empty of inherent essence. The modern mind often confuses reality with what is tangible, what can be touched, seen, or measured. But Buddhism points beyond the physical dimension. It tells us that even what we see, hear, and feel are not as they appear. Our senses, though remarkable, filter reality through countless layers of perception and conditioning. What we call the world is, in truth, a reflection, a mental construction continuously shaped by craving, aversion, and ignorance. Imagine standing before a clear lake. The surface ripples with wind and light, reflecting trees, clouds, and sky. You might believe those reflections are the sky itself, but if you look deeper, you realize they are merely appearances upon water. In the same way, our experiences are reflections upon the still surface of consciousness. When the mind is agitated, the world seems distorted. When it is clear, we begin to glimpse the reality beyond form. The Buddha taught that all phenomena, internal or external, are marked by three universal characteristics: impermanence, anicca, suffering, dukkha, and non-self, anatta. These are not mere doctrines, but lenses through which the truth begins to reveal itself. When we see that everything changes, that clinging brings pain, and that the self we defend is only a fleeting process, a door opens. Through that door, one steps into the direct experience of freedom, the seeing of things as they truly are. In the Buddhist view, awakening is not an escape from reality, it is returning to it. It is awakening from the hallucination of separation, of I and mine, of this and that. It is realizing that the same essence flows through all beings and all things, that nothing stands alone. Mountains, rivers, stars, and thoughts are all part of one continuous unfolding, inseparable from the vast web of causes and effects. This truth is both humbling and liberating. It humbles the ego that insists on control, and it liberates the heart that longs for peace. For when we see that reality is interconnected, impermanent, and empty of self, compassion naturally arises. The walls between me and you dissolve. The suffering of others becomes our own. And wisdom flows not as knowledge, but as gentle understanding. To explore reality from the Buddhist perspective is to enter a mirror that reflects our deepest nature. It is to question everything we assume to be true, not to reject the world, but to see through its illusions with love and clarity. So as you walk with us on Buddha's wisdom journey, allow yourself to pause. To breathe. To feel. To look deeply into each moment as if seeing it for the first time. Reality is not hidden, it has always been here, shimmering quietly beneath the noise of thought and the veil of perception. This journey is not about acquiring answers, but about unlearning the false. It is not about becoming someone new, but remembering what you have always been, awareness itself. Vast and boundless. When we look deeply, reality reveals its nature not as something distant, but as something alive within each breath, each step, each fleeting now. And in that recognition, something miraculous unfolds, the end of the search. The beginning of peace. The truth about reality, the Buddhist perspective, is not just a topic, it is an invitation, an awakening to what has always been true. Let us walk together into that quiet truth, into the heart of awareness itself. When the Buddha spoke of reality, he was not referring to an external world measured by the senses or analyzed by reason. He was speaking of something more subtle, the living experience of existence in each moment, where mind and world are no longer two. Reality, in the Buddhist view, is not an object to be grasped, but an endless flow of dependent origination, where everything exists only when conditions come together and fades when those conditions disperse. We often believe we are living in reality, but most of the time, we only live in the version of reality created by our own minds. The mind discriminates, labels, speculates, loves, hates, and then believes that those perceptions are truth. But when we look deeper, we see that everything we think we know about the world is only a reflection, like the moon reflected on the water. The moon is there, but its shimmering image is only an illusion depending on the movement of the mind. The Buddha once taught, all phenomena are created by the mind. This saying is not just philosophy but an experiential truth. When the mind is calm, the world becomes clear. When the mind is disturbed, everything around us takes on a tone of chaos. So, what then is reality? Is it the external world? Or what appears within our consciousness? Buddhism answers, neither is separate. Reality is not outside the mind, nor within it, it is the ceaseless interaction of both, a web of interdependent causes and conditions where nothing can exist independently. Looking deeply into a flower, we see not just the flower. Within it are clouds, water, sunlight, earth, time, and countless other elements that have come together to form the flower in this very moment. Without these elements, the flower cannot exist. Our world is the same. Every breath, every thought, every image we call me, or of mine, depends upon infinite conditions for its existence. This truth, emptiness, is the foundation of liberating insight. When we realize that everything lacks an independent self-nature, the fear of loss disappears. For if nothing has a fixed owner or essence, what can truly be lost? What can truly be harmed? Everything is only a flow of transformation, and suffering arises only when we cling to what is changing. Like one who tries to grasp the wind, the tighter we hold, the emptier our hands become. Buddhism does not encourage us to deny the world, but to see it as it truly is. To see that all forms, whether beautiful or ugly, are impermanent, all feelings, whether joyful or painful, are but waves rising and falling on the ocean of consciousness. When we no longer identify ourselves with those waves, we begin to touch the deep stillness of the sea. And in that stillness, reality reveals itself. However, to see reality, we must dare to let go of the conceptual frameworks we are so used to clinging to. The human mind always wants to grasp, to define, categorize, to find a final answer to the question, what is truth? But truth cannot be contained in words or ideas. It can only be seen, never thought. That is why the Buddha often remains silent before metaphysical questions like, does the world have a beginning, or does existence continue after death. That silence was not ignorance, but wisdom, for any conceptual answer would lead the mind away from direct experience of reality. In meditation, when the mind becomes still, when all notions of self and world subside, a pure awareness arises, not bound by time, not controlled by thought. That awareness is the living reality itself, unborn, undying. The Buddha called it nirvana, not a place, but a state of seeing things as they truly are. From this seeing, compassion naturally arises. For when one knows there is no real boundary between self and other, how can one cause harm? Knowing that all beings share the same flow of life, all shaped by impermanence, we begin to love not out of emotion, but out of deep understanding. That within every person, every living being, is a different manifestation of the same still essence. In today's world, people are increasingly distant from this truth. We are caught in forms. In material pursuits, in fame and emotions, believing them to be real. Yet the more we chase, the emptier we feel. This is the sign of a soul longing to return to the very essence of reality, where there is no division, where there is only what is. To understand the Buddha's teaching is not to become transcendent, but to live more fully in each moment. When we drink water, just know we are drinking water. When we walk, just know we are walking. In that simple awareness, reality unfolds, fresh, vast, unadorned. For reality is not somewhere far away, it is this very moment, when the mind no longer drifts into the past or imagines the future. Seeing this, we understand why the Buddha called true seeing, right view, not blind belief, but awareness beyond illusion. One with right view is no longer swept away by the current of suffering, for they have seen the impermanent and selfless nature of all things. They live in the world, yet are not bound by it. They act, yet are not attached to results. They love, yet are not confined by desire. This is true freedom, freedom not born from changing the world, but from seeing the world as it is. When we no longer want the world to be as we wish, but allow it to be as it is, the mind becomes clear, peaceful, and compassionate. In that letting go, we touch the very source of wisdom. Thus, understanding reality in the Buddhist sense is not about learning a philosophy, but about a journey of transformation at the root of perception, from ignorance to awakening, from clinging to letting go, from the illusion of a small self to the vast vision of no self. It is the journey of returning to oneself, or more precisely, returning to that which is not oneself, yet is all. And when the mind is awakened, every drop of rain, every gust of wind, every breath becomes a verse of truth. We no longer ask, what is reality, for we ourselves have become that reality, clear, complete, and with nothing left to seek. When the practitioner begins to see reality as it truly is, all the concepts long nourished in the mind gradually dissolve. What is called I, the center of all fears, desires, and anxieties, no longer appears as a solid entity. It is only the combination of countless elements, body, feelings, memories, perceptions, and ever-changing reactions. When we observe closely, none of these can be called I independently. This body is impermanent, emotions change, memories fade over time, perceptions are influenced by conditions and experience. I is only a process, not an entity. This is the foundation of the wisdom of non-self, one of the key gates to liberation that the Buddha taught. Non-self does not mean non-existence, but that nothing exists separately, fixedly, or independently. As long as we think, I am a separate person, we still oppose the world, we still divide between this and that, between self and others. But when the veil of ignorance is lifted, a new seeing appears, that all beings are but waves on the same ocean of life. This wave rises, that wave subsides, yet the sea remains intact, silent, and vast. At that very moment, consciousness attains a stillness beyond words. Reality is no longer something to be sought, but something self-evident, always present right before our eyes. Every bird's song, every wisp of smoke, every breath is evidence of the wondrous life unfolding. We do not need to believe, nor to think, only to see. And in that seeing, all boundaries dissolve. Yet to reach this seeing is not easy. Buddhism does not promise a quick path or mystical miracles. This path requires the courage to look directly into the impermanent nature of oneself. To face the illusions we have nurtured through countless lifetimes. We must be willing to let go of each layer of wrong perception, like one removing layer after layer of clothing that conceals the true mind, until there is nothing left to hold on to. The Buddha once compared the practitioner to a person rowing a boat across a river. When one has reached the other shore, the wise person does not carry the boat on their shoulders. Likewise, all teachings and methods are only the raft that carries us to awakening. Once we have seen reality, we no longer rely on concepts, words, or forms. Truth does not reside in letters, but in life itself. The paradox is this: the more we try to grasp reality, the farther we move away from it. For reality cannot be grasped by thought. It can only be lived and experienced. Just as a lake reflects the sky only when the water is still, the mind can see truth only when it is no longer disturbed by greed, anger, or delusion. When we put down all seeking, in that very moment, reality reveals itself. In daily life, reality is veiled by countless layers of illusion. We believe happiness lies outside, in material possessions, fame, love, or power. Yet each time we attain something, the joy fades, leaving emptiness behind. Why? Because we are seeking permanence in what is impermanent. Everything changes. Loved ones, work, emotions, time. When we cling to what is changing, suffering is inevitable. Buddhism teaches that to touch reality, we must first awaken from the dream of attachment. Observe the mind in its smallest reactions, in joy, in sorrow, when insulted or praised. Each emotion arises, fades, and arises again. That is the nature of mind. There is no I controlling this process, only the natural flow of dependent origination. When we realize this, we begin to learn how to let go. Letting go does not mean neglecting, but seeing that everything unfolds according to its causes and conditions. When we see this clearly, serenity appears. We still act, live, and love, but we are no longer caught in outcomes. Action arises from wisdom and compassion, not from fear or the desire to control. This is non-doing, acting without acting, living without being bound by notions of success or failure. When the view of reality deepens, we also see that suffering is not an enemy but a teacher. Every pain is an opportunity to look within, to see the roots of attachment. When we dare to look deeply, suffering dissolves, revealing the clarity of the mind. Reality is no longer a series of frightening changes but a vast stream of life where every experience, joy or sorrow, becomes a doorway to awakening. The outer world, therefore, is no longer something to flee or to conquer. It becomes a mirror reflecting the inner state. When the mind is calm, the world is peaceful. When the mind is chaotic, the world appears in turmoil. This is the essence of all practice. Instead of trying to change the world, change the way the mind sees it. When the view is right, everything becomes right. Someone may ask, if everything is only dependent arising, only temporary, then what is the meaning of life? That question arises from the habit of wanting a permanent anchor in a changing stream. But it is precisely within impermanence that life becomes precious. If nothing ever changed, how could we grow, love, or recognize the wonder of each moment? Impermanence is not a threat, it is the heartbeat of the universe. The song of life flowing endlessly. And when we understand this, reality becomes full of meaning. We see every dewdrop, every smile, every sunset as a miracle. No need to search far. No need for lofty philosophy, just being present in this moment, we have already touched truth. Reality is not in the past, not in the future, but right here, in each gentle breath of awareness. The enlightened one differs from us not in appearance, but in seeing. They no longer view the world through the lens of self-clinging. They see the flow of life unfolding in perfect harmony. Where nothing is superfluous, nothing is wrong. Pain and joy, gain and loss, all are expressions of one single reality, where everything interdepends and coexists. The deeper we enter this seeing, the more our hearts overflow with love. For when we understand that we are not separate from all beings, we cannot help but cherish every breath, every life. Understanding becomes compassion. And compassion in turn expands understanding. This is the perfect circle of awakening, where wisdom and love are no longer two. And then, what was once the mystery of reality is no longer something to decode. It becomes self-evident, so simple that we can see it in a falling leaf, in the sound of wind through the branches, in someone's eyes glancing at us in passing. Everything is a manifestation of truth, that nothing is separate, nothing is truly lost, and that we have never been apart from reality for even a single moment. For reality is not something to be attained, it is what already is. When we let go of all seeking, that is the moment we return. And the place we return to, is the truth that has always been there, silent, unchanging. As deep as the first breath of the universe, when the vision of reality becomes increasingly clear, one begins to enter a more subtle stage of awakening, the stage where every boundary between the observer and the observed gradually dissolves. There is no longer a me watching the world, but only seeing itself, only pure awareness taking place. In that seeing, reality is no longer divided into right and wrong, good and bad, beautiful and ugly, but becomes a single pure stream, all-embracing and free from every concept. This is the moment when consciousness begins to dissolve into the essence of the universe, not by the idea of merging, but by realizing that there was never any separation. The practitioner, upon reaching this point, no longer sees himself as an individual seeking enlightenment, but only as the flow of life recognizing itself. The self that once struggled and suffered, grasping or escaping, now dissolves into boundless stillness, like a grain of salt melting into the sea. But to reach that state, one must pass through countless layers of delusion created by the mind, images, memories, beliefs, and deeply imprinted fears. These layers cannot be forced to disappear, because the more we try, the stronger they become. The only way is to see them clearly. When they are seen clearly, there is no need to chase them away, they dissolve by themselves. Just as darkness cannot exist when light appears, all illusions retreat when wisdom shines. Many people think enlightenment is a miraculous destination, some metaphysical experience apart from daily life. But in truth, enlightenment is simply seeing rightly, living fully with each breath, each step, each moment unfolding. Reality does not dwell in some distant heavenly realm, but right here, in the sunlight through the window, in the sound of morning birds, in the silence of the afternoon. Yet the ordinary mind always seeks the special. We want a supernatural experience, want to attain, want to know the ultimate truth. That very wanting becomes the wall separating us from what is. For reality is simple, but our mind is too complicated. Reality is thoughtless, but we try to grasp it with thoughts. Like someone who wishes to hear the subtle sound of the wind while carrying a whole noisy orchestra inside his head. Therefore, the Buddha taught the middle way, not leaning toward the extremes of indulgence nor the extremes of self-mortification. The middle way is not only a way of living, but also a way of seeing. Seeing things as they are, adding nothing, taking nothing away. When we see like that, we begin to touch suchness, the true nature of all phenomena, uncovered by concepts. Suchness is not some mysterious entity. It is life itself in the present moment. When you look at a leaf without labeling it beautiful or ugly, you see life breathing within that leaf. When you look into a pain, without trying to escape, you see the nature of suffering, and in that seeing, suffering transforms itself. This is the miraculous power of mindfulness, when you are fully present. Reality reveals itself. When the mind abides in mindfulness, one begins to feel a strange peace, not coming from outside, not dependent on circumstances, but arising from the deep understanding that everything is exactly as it is. It is a state of total acceptance, not by resignation, but by realizing that every phenomenon has its own reason to exist in this web of causes and conditions. Nothing is random, and nothing is forgotten. At that moment, the concepts of right and wrong begin to lose their weight. We stop blaming the past, stop comparing with the future. Stop judging others. Because we see that everyone is simply doing what conditions compel them to do. What we thought was a mistake sometimes turns out to be the condition for our growth. What we thought was a loss may open another door. When the vision becomes that compassionate, we see that reality, though full of change, is still a perfect whole. And then, from seeing clearly the nature of impermanence and non-self, we begin to live with a soft and open heart. No longer wanting to hold on to anything, no longer needing to prove or argue. The mind becomes humble, natural, innocent, like a child seeing the world for the first time. Every sound, every color, every touch is a miracle. Every moment contains the wonder of existence. That is when wisdom and compassion meet. When we know that everything is impermanent, we no longer cling to suffering, but neither are we indifferent. When we know that all beings share the same law of birth and death, we stop judging, and instead give rise to love. Wisdom does not make us distant from the world, it helps us love the world more deeply, more completely, for we have seen that there is no one outside of us, and we are not outside of anyone. At that point, even the smallest act becomes sacred. A kind word, a look of understanding, a gentle smile, all are expressions of living wisdom. One who has seen reality no longer lives for the ego, but for the awakening of all. They live to help others see what they have seen, not by preaching, but by the way they are, serene, silent, and full of love. But even that, enlightenment, is not the ultimate destination. If one still thinks, I am enlightened, then there is still an I, and that I is the most subtle illusion. Only when all ideas of gain and loss disappear, when there is nothing left to attain, when the seeker and the sought become one, does the truth fully reveal itself. The Buddha once said, "There is nothing to attain, and no one to attain it." That saying is the crystallization of complete vision. Reality has never left us, it is only obscured by clouds of the mind. When the clouds part, the sun has always been shining. Enlightenment is not creating the light, it is letting the clouds dissolve. And in that state, one lives naturally, truthfully, and lightly. No more questions, no more fear, no more struggle. They can laugh amid impermanence, love within non-self, act in the flow of life while abiding in stillness. For they know that no matter how the waves rise, the ocean is never disturbed. From that seeing, the awakened one no longer seeks meaning in life, they become the meaning itself. They do not seek happiness, they are happiness. They do not ask, what is reality, for they are living as reality. Every step they take is a sutra, every breath a silent prayer sent into the universe. May all beings awaken, may all see this truth. That path belongs to no one, and yet it is open to all, right in the moment one dares to stop, to look deeply, to live truly. For reality is nowhere else but within, in stillness, in compassion, in the vision unclouded by illusion. And then, every question about what reality is becomes unnecessary. For what we sought was never lost. Reality does not hide in words or philosophy. It is breathing with us, right now, in the sacred silence of being. When the seeing of reality becomes increasingly clear, one begins to enter a more subtle stage of awakening, the stage where all boundaries between the observer and the observed gradually dissolve. There is no longer a me watching the world, but only seeing, only pure awareness unfolding. In that seeing, reality is no longer divided into right, wrong, good, bad, beautiful, ugly, but becomes like a single pure stream, all-encompassing and free from all concepts. This is the moment when consciousness begins to dissolve into the essence of the universe, not through the idea of entering into, but through the realization that there has never been any separation. The practitioner who reaches this point no longer sees himself as an individual seeking enlightenment, but only as the flow of life recognizing itself. The I that once struggled and suffered, trying to grasp or to escape, now dissolves into vast stillness like a grain of salt melting into the sea. But to touch that state, one must go through countless layers of illusions created by the mind, images, memories, beliefs, and deeply imprinted fears. These layers cannot be forced to disappear, for the more we try, the stronger they become. The only way is to see them clearly. When we see clearly, there is no need to drive them away, they naturally dissolve. Just as darkness cannot exist when light appears, all delusions withdraw when wisdom shines. Many people think that enlightenment is a miraculous destination, a metaphysical experience separate from daily life. But in truth, enlightenment is simply to see rightly, to live fully with each breath, each step, each present moment. Reality does not lie in faraway celestial realms, but right here, in the sunlight passing through the window, in the sound of morning birds, in the silence of the afternoon. Yet the ordinary mind always seeks something special. We want a supernatural experience, want to attain, want to know the ultimate truth. That very wanting becomes the wall separating us from what is. For reality is simple, but our mind is too complicated. Reality is thoughtless, yet we want to understand it with thought. Like one who wishes to hear the subtle sound of the wind, but carries a whole noisy orchestra in his head. Therefore, the Buddha taught the middle way, not leaning toward the extreme of indulgence, nor toward the extreme of self-mortification. The middle way is not only a way of living but also a way of seeing everything as it is, neither adding nor subtracting. When we can see like that, we begin to touch suchness, the true nature of all phenomena, unobscured by concepts. Suchness is not some mysterious entity. It is life itself in the present moment. When we look at a leaf without labeling it beautiful or ugly, we see the very life breathing within that leaf. When we look into pain without trying to run away, we see the essence of suffering, and in that seeing, suffering transforms itself. This is the miracle of mindfulness. When we are fully present, reality reveals itself. When the mind abides in mindfulness, one begins to feel a very strange peace, not coming from outside, not depending on circumstances, but arising from the deep understanding that everything is exactly as it is. It is a state of absolute acceptance, not by resignation, but by realizing that every phenomenon has its own reason for existing in this universe of causes and conditions. Nothing is random, and nothing is forgotten. At that moment, the notions of right and wrong begin to lose their weight. We stop blaming the past, stop comparing with the future, stop judging others. Because we see that everything is simply doing what conditions compel it to do. What we think is a mistake sometimes turns out to be the very condition that helps us grow. What we think is a loss turns out to be the opening of another door. When the vision becomes that compassionate, we see that reality, though full of change, is still a perfect whole. And then, from seeing clearly the nature of impermanence and non-self, we begin to live with a soft and open heart. No longer wishing to hold on to anything. No longer needing to prove or argue. The mind becomes humble, natural, and innocent like a child seeing the world for the first time. Every sound, every color, every touch is a miracle. Every moment contains the wonder of existence. That is when wisdom and compassion meet. Knowing that everything is impermanent, we no longer cling to suffering, but neither are we indifferent. Knowing that all beings share the same law of birth and death, we no longer judge, but give rise to compassion. Wisdom does not make us distant from the world, but helps us love the world more deeply, more completely, for we have understood that no one exists outside of us, and we exist outside of no one. Then even the smallest act becomes sacred. A kind word, a look of understanding, a compassionate smile, all are expressions of living wisdom. One who has seen reality no longer lives for the ego, but for the awakening of all. They live to help others see what they have seen. Not through preaching, but through the way they are, serene, silent, and full of love. Yet even that, enlightenment, is not the final destination. If one still thinks, I am enlightened, then there is still an I, and that I is the most subtle illusion. Only when all notions of gain and loss dissolve, when there is nothing left to attain, when the seeker and the sought become one, does truth fully reveal itself. The Buddha once said, there is nothing to attain, and no one to attain. That saying is the crystallization of perfect seeing. Reality has never left us. It is only because the mind is clouded that we do not see. When the clouds disperse, the sun has always been shining. Enlightenment is not creating light, but simply letting the clouds dissolve. And in that state, one lives naturally, truly, and lightly. No more questions, no more fear, no more struggle. One can laugh amidst impermanence, love within non-self, act in the midst of life, while resting in stillness. For one knows that no matter how high the waves rise, the ocean remains unmoved. From that seeing, the awakened one no longer seeks meaning in life, they become the meaning itself. They do not seek happiness, they are happiness. They do not ask, what is reality, for they are living as reality. Every step they take is a sutra, every breath a silent prayer sent into the universe. May all beings awaken, may all see this truth. That path belongs to no one, yet it is open to all, right in the moment one dares to stop, to look deeply, to live truly. For reality is nowhere else but within, in stillness, in compassion, in the vision no longer clouded by illusion. And then, every question about what reality is, becomes unnecessary. For what we sought was never lost. Reality does not hide in words or philosophy, but is breathing with us, right now, in the sacred silence of being.